All right. This Rayshard Brooks case has really gotten out of hand. If you're not familiar, Rayshard Brooks is a man who was shot and killed by the Atlanta PD the other night. He was passed out in his car at the drive-thru of a Wendy's, and for whatever reason, instead of just waking him up, or maybe they couldn't wake him up, someone called the police to take care of it. And the police came and woke him up and got him out of the car and talked to him. And I guess for about 40 minutes, they did, like a DUI kind of investigation. They called in the DUI officer. And then right as they were putting the handcuffs on him, he struggled with them. He fought them. I believe he punched one of the officers in the face. He stole one of their tasers, fired it at the officers, I believe while they were struggling. I could be wrong about that. But then he took off running, and after running several car lengths away, he turned and fired the taser at the cop who was chasing him. And that officer fired his weapon a few times and killed him. Now, apparently he didn't die right away. They did some CPR on him and whatnot. But that's part of what's in dispute. Now, these officers, of course, should be on administrative leave pending an investigation, all that kind of stuff, obviously. But there's plenty of angles of video of this that, to me, it seems pretty cut and dried that these officers did not act in any way that was excessive force or over the top. Now, Atlanta has a district attorney named Paul Howard, who is a real piece of work. He decided to charge the one officer, with 11 different counts, including felony murder. Now, felony murder is like one of the highest murder cases you can get. It's a capital crime. In states where there's a death penalty, it carries the death penalty as one of its punishments. So this officer, and I don't know his name off the top of my head, Rolfe, I think it is, Officer Rolfe, or ex-Officer Rolfe. Now, he was fired immediately by the mayor. I believe it was by the mayor. And then the district attorney came out talking about these 11 charges and how he's got until yesterday or today to turn himself in. And these charges are just insane. Now, it seems to me that this guy is doing this because it's an election year. He's in a tight race against another Democrat. They're going to have a runoff election in, I believe, November. This fall, anyway. It seems to me that because of the political climate right now, that not only is this man overcharging because he thinks that he will face some kind of backlash if he doesn't, but I think he's taking kind of a perverse joy in bringing these charges, because he's lied about some of the things. First of all, one of the lies that he's told is that the officer who didn't shoot, he was had become state's witness against Officer Rolfe. I hope that's his name. The officer who did shoot. And according to the second officer's lawyer, and I've watched the lawyer on video, I believe it was on Court TV, saying about how he doesn't know why the DA would say that, because his client is not in any way a cooperating state's witness. He's a witness, but he is not a cooperating state's witness, especially not considering he's facing jail time or whatever, criminal charges himself. They say they don't know why the DA would say that. And to me, that seems awful strange. Maybe there's just some mixed signals there or something, but putting it together with everything else. And another thing is, like I said, there's several different video angles. People's cell phones, the officers' body-worn cameras, and the surveillance video at the Wendy's. Now, this officer is being charged with these 11 counts, like I said, including felony murder, which means that someone died while you were committing a felony. Now, apparently the underlying felony is aggravated assault with the weapon. I don't know why that's included in there. That's not something you normally see included. These charges, and it's not something you normally see included. But this guy, another thing is, and he did this press conference and he had all these video stills, these pictures that he was putting up. And one of the pictures he put up was of Officer Rolfe supposedly kicking Rayshard Brooks when he was down on the ground, dying or already dead. Now, if you look at the picture, yeah, it looks like he might be winding up to give the guy a kick. But it's a still picture. And there's all these video. So why can't you show me video of him kicking Mr. Brooks if that's the truth? That doesn't make any sense. So I think he might be lying about that. A lot of people who have been watching the video say that he is lying about that it never happened. Now, why would he say that? To inflame people's anger towards the police even more. Now, this guy's in a lot of trouble himself, this DA. Let's see, he is under investigation for a few different things. Reporting by Channel 2 Action News and our investigative partners at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution have led to investigations of Howard by both the State Ethics Commission and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Their reporters discovered that the city of Atlanta sent $250,000 to the DA's Office for Crime Prevention Programs, and almost 80% of that went into his paycheck. He called the issue an administrative matter and said he expects to be exonerated. The person running against him said he does what's best for him, and when the DA should do what's best for the people. She also said, we see that in you stealing $195,000 from black and brown children. She says he made the decision based on politics. What is her name? Let me say her name. Fannie Willis. She's a black lady. So, one of the other things going on, so he's under criminal investigation for this money. Let's see if there was an organization that he was a CEO of. Started with 3P something. Let me see if I can find the name of it. People Partnering for Progress. He served as a CEO. The complaint alleged violations on 5 years of personal finance disclosure forms he's filed while serving as a DA. 8 of the alleged violations involve People Partnering for Progress, which he serves as a CEO. It was founded in 2004 to reduce youth violence, but for at least 4 years, he's used it as a conduit to funnel tens of thousands of dollars to supplement the salary he gets from the state and the county. He makes roughly $175,000 and was paid $140,000 in salary by PPP from 2015 to 2017, according to its filings with the IRS. He also was paid another $30,000 by the nonprofit in 2014, their records show. In his prior statement, he said the money paid by PPP was supplemental salary from the city of Atlanta through 2 $125,000 grants. Whether he was able to do this is questionable because state law says counties, not cities, can supplement DA's salaries. So, looks like he might be, they called it funneling. I would call it embezzling or stealing almost $200,000 from this company. And there was other violations, including another nonprofit, the Academy for Progress, for which he also served as CEO from 2016 to 2019. During those years, he also failed to disclose his fiduciary position on the nonprofit, the complaint said. So, man's a thief. He's embezzling money. Those are my words. Allegedly, in my opinion, he's embezzling money. And then there is the sexual harassment charges from a longtime paralegal and records supervisor. She sued him, this is from April, alleging 15 years of, quote, overt, manipulative, and aggressive sexual misconduct and harassment, end quote. And it's the latest in a string of allegations from women who once worked for the veteran prosecutor. He's been accused of 12 public disclosure violations. We talked about that already. So yeah, this whole thing stinks to me. Just stinks. The man is a crook. He's possibly a sexual harasser. I'm not reading into the details of what happened there, but apparently this person is not the only one who has accused him of sexual harassment. So he's accused of sexual harassment. He's accused of stealing or embezzling. Maybe not stealing, I guess that wouldn't be right. Accepting money illegally and not disclosing it to the DA's office. I would imagine you'd have to disclose those things because of any possible conflicts of interest. So that would make sense. He's lying about the officer being a state's witness. He's lying, I'm pretty sure he's lying about the cop kicking that man, Rayshard Brooks. They also said that for 2 minutes and something that they refused to render aid to the man. Now, I don't know how long it may have taken, but I've seen badge cam footage where you can very clearly hear him, one of the officers, saying, keep breathing, stay with me, man, stay with me, as he is attempting to do CPR. May have taken a few seconds longer than normal because he was a fleeing suspect. They may have had to have handcuffed him still. I think they have to do that just in case you're still a threat. And this whole thing is blowing up. And we all agreed on the George Floyd thing, like that was obvious, that was murder, straight up murder. And then when you find out that the Floyd and Chauvin knew each other and had worked together and had beef with each other, yeah, that was murder. This was a heat of the moment. Like I said in one of my other videos, cops in shootings only have a split second to second guess themselves. They have no time for second guessing. They have a split second to make their decision. Whereas this Chauvin guy had like 8 minutes and something to second guess himself and make better decisions about what he was doing. Now to me, if I was that officer, I would have thought the guy was shooting at me because a taser sounds like a gun apparently when it goes off and there's a flash of light, which to me, would look like a muzzle flash probably. So I don't see how we can fault this officer for using deadly force. There was some comments about the guy being shot in the back. Well, he was running away and he was turning and firing the taser. So, yeah, he is going to get hit in the back because his back is to the officer for the most part, but that doesn't mean he didn't turn and fire the taser at him. It doesn't mean that he isn't going to stop and hijack somebody's car or hold someone hostage or, do any number of things. And another thing I've seen in comments is people saying, why didn't the officers just let him park his car and walk home? You do realize the man was so intoxicated he was passed out in his car at the drive-thru in Wendy's. You don't want somebody like that walking around or driving around. You can't just, and this was his second DUI. And the police officers were familiar with him, so they knew this. And they knew that he had, I heard somewhere that they knew he could be violent, and that's why they called for backup. I do know the one backup they called for was a DUI officer. There's usually a special officer on each shift that's trained to do the DUI, or whose job it is to do all the DUI testing for that shift. It doesn't make much sense. They say, why didn't they just let him park his car and walk to his sister's house? Because he kept saying his sister's house was right over there. Well, if they would have let him drive home or whatever, what if next time he kills somebody while he's driving drunk? He obviously didn't learn his lesson the first time if he was going to do it again. And those people are just looking for an excuse to be mad at the cops. They would be angry with Rayshard Brooks if he killed a family who was coming home from soccer practice or something. And then the people in that town burned that Wendy's to the ground. That's crazy to me. That's just so crazy to me. And think about all the people from the neighborhood who probably work there now don't have jobs. And people are taking a lot of this stuff too far. They're getting caught up in the moment, and they want to see malfeasance around every corner. They want to see, especially with the police, they want to see that the police did something wrong right now. Everybody's looking to nitpick the police. They're definitely under a microscope. And as far as I'm concerned, this is way overcharging these men, especially the one with the 11 charges, the one who actually shot Brooks. So we'll see how this plays out. I cannot, once the evidence is shown, I can't imagine a jury finding him guilty of capital murder. I cannot see this cop going away for the rest of his life or going to death row. And I don't see a jury sending him there. And I definitely don't see the average person on a jury sending a police officer to death row. They may find him guilty of some other smaller charges just because the atmosphere towards police right now is pretty grim. A few years ago, I would have been one of these protesters, all cops are bastards, down with the pigs, fry them like bacon, all that kind of stuff. But I was given a chance to become part of a solution when I was offered the chance to speak at crisis intervention trainings in San Francisco. That really changed things for me. It gave me a personal relationship with some officers. I was on first-name basis with some pretty high-ranking officers just because they were involved in the crisis intervention training. I was on some committees that they served on and a few other things. Oh, I hope my dog doesn't start barking again. Scared the crap out of me a few minutes ago. But yeah, I think these guys are being way overcharged. I think this DA is a crook and a criminal. I think that he's going to do anything he can to get reelected because he's in such a tight race with this other Democrat. My neighbor in his big block Ford truck, one of them. He's got 2 old Ford trucks that sound like that. But, yeah. I feel sorry for that cop, Rolf. I feel sorry for the other ones, too. I hope Rolf can make bail, but I don't think they have bail for capital murder or for felony murder. They don't generally give you bail when you're facing life in prison or the death penalty because you're too high of a flight risk just because of the sentence that you'd be facing. So, yeah, I can't imagine a jury finding him guilty of all that. But like I said before, we'll see how it all plays out. We'll see what happens to this DA. Hopefully things start getting back to normal where the police are concerned, but I don't see that happening. I think later on I might make a video talking about the Chaz, as they're calling it, or have they changed the name to the CHOP now? Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or Capitol Hill Occupied something with a P, occupied, whatever. I forget. It doesn't matter. They're all crazy. But that's all I got for now.